Alright YouTubes, I'm on my own at the minute. Reese has got a couple of days off, which isn't good. No, it's alright, this means I've got to do the stripping at the moment. So yeah, I've had to strip this job, so I'll show you the job that I'm going to be doing next. So it's a BMW 1 Series, and we've got the front and back bumper to do. Scuffed and marked in various places. Same on the front one, scuffed and a bit creased and deformed. And yeah, just bits everywhere really on both bumpers, so both bumpers to do. And yeah, they were a bit of a mission to strip. I really could have done with Reese to strip those for me. I don't do so much stripping now, obviously Reese does most of it. So yeah, a bit of a knuckle breaker getting all that grill stuff out of there. But I've done it anyway. I don't need him really. Hopefully you don't see this. But anyway, and then some damage we've got to do to the car. Is this quarter panel and dog leg. Flattened in across this wheel arch. And it's in a little bit there, bit of a big gap between the door and the dog leg, and then the door's a bit deformed, bit creased, sticking out, bowing in a little bit all over the place there as well. And then there's, I think that's just pressing on that door. There's a ding on that door as well, which really, this is just a blend panel, but I ain't going to be blending over that dent, so we'll be doing something with that as well. So yeah, repair wise, we'll see these two panels, and I'm going to be this will be the first video I'm going to use the pulling tower on it, which is nice. It's always nice to use when you've got a new bit of equipment. I always look forward to being able to do a job with your new bit of equipment, and because you know, any new bit of equipment, you sort of have to learn about it. So yeah, I've only done a couple of jobs with it so far, and yeah, it does work really well. One thing I've noticed is yeah, I can't pull it on the ramp because it's fairly strong. I'm surprised how strong it is. It does actually start moving the car a little bit. So yeah, but what I'm going to try and do is need to get this arch out a little bit. This edge is over, but I need to get this edge up in here because it has gone in here a little bit. It's sort of creasing in here a little bit. So I want to get this edge up. So that's really what I'm going to be using the tower on, is this piece here. And I may use it on to get this arch line as well. But yeah, the beauty of it is, well, I found the last, you know, the couple of times that I have used it, is it's just great that you can get something under tension and walk up to, you know, leave it under tension. It's like hands free it is, which is, yeah, that's really handy for then to go up and start manipulating stuff around it while it's just held under tension. Is yeah, it's really good. It gives you a good advantage of getting stuff out a lot more, a lot simpler and less stress and hassle really. Have it, you know, it's almost like someone else holding something for you. So yeah, looking forward to it anyway. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to get this ground off, and then and we start pulling it, and I start repairing it.
Alright YouTube, so how are we all doing? Yeah, so this video is going to be the repair stage and the preparation on this vehicle. Yeah, just want to talk about, you know, if you're trying to learn how to paint and you'll paint for yourself, you know, the main reason why you're going to be doing paint work on your vehicle is there's going to be damage. So you know, my channels, I'm going to be, you know, I show both the repair, the preparation and the spraying, you know. The preparation and the repair stage is probably not as popular as painting videos. People love seeing the paint going on, but what's the point of learning how to paint if you don't know how to do any of the other stages? So you know, I think it's good to know all of it. So you know, my job's, I'm going to take you through all the different stages, you know. So yeah, this is first video using this pulling tower. It's it's a real handy big bit of kit, and yeah, I'm surprised how well it pulls, to be honest with you. It's got a good bit of strength. Your floor's pretty critical, so I mentioned in previous videos I had to smooth out a load of concrete along this side of my workshop to get that pulling tower to work well. But you can see I've put the wiggle wire across that wheel arch. I marked out the wheel arch, put the wire across it, and then yeah, didn't need much of a pull at all. You can see that it pulls the vehicle a little bit as well. So yeah, while it's under tension on that feature line, I'll start with that feature line, start manipulating that out. Pull it to where I need it to be, but I've sort of found with it you need to over pull a little bit because it will release back a little bit. While it's under tension, I can start addressing other lines, you know, other areas around there that are damaged. So you can see it's under tension still. Gives me the opportunity then to get in there beneath it, where the flat part of that wheel arch is in. I can get beneath it while that arch is under tension, that feature line's under tension, and it manipulates the rest of it. Then, you know, you can pull the rest of it out easier, you know, having certain areas of the damage under tension. So yeah, it's really handy. It's been a real lifesaver already, to be honest with you. It just makes you work a bit more efficiently, and it just makes life easier, you know. That's the point of big pieces of equipment. The more you invest in equipment, the easier it makes your life, really. It makes the job easier, obviously makes you more efficient, and yeah, there's initial cost with equipment, but if it makes you more efficient, then you're going to be making more profit out of the work. So yeah, I've pulled that arch, pulled the skins around it, and now just tackling that dog leg. That type of area on vehicles, when that dog, you know, the edge of a quarter panel or dog leg is pushed in, it's a real tight area to pull, and there is a tendency that you can you'll rip the metal on there, because, you know, on a panel that's pressed, the metal's going to be thinner on the folds, and on the presses the metal's always going to be thinner there, so there's always a risk of ripping metal there and not being able to pull out what you need to pull out. So I've put the eyes across that, kept the eyes really tight, so the spread of the pull, you know, the load that I'm putting on there is more concentrated. So yeah, just using some heat as well, and yeah, just trying to manipulate that edge out. It always tends to fold on those edges, you know. The metal fold, you'll pull it out, but you won't actually pull the edge where it's folded. You'll pull the skin next to it, you know. So again, with the pulling tower on there, I've got nothing that's restricting me in the way, got some tension on there, and then just trying to flatten that edge over to minimize the folding. You're never going to get it out perfect on them edges. You could be there forever trying to, I found that you could be there forever trying to get that edge perfect. You're just going to have to make it up with a little bit of filler, but you want to, you know, you don't want to be putting big chunks of filler in there to make an edge up, but you are going to have to close up gaps with filler. It's inevitable. So yeah, I'm just trying to flatten it out as much as I can, really, and then really you need that edge in a bit lower to get your line in with the filler. The trouble is, if you try to pull it out too much or try to get it too perfect, you're not going to be able to make that line up with filler, because you're going to have little bits of metal that poke through. So yeah, there is a fine line between it, really, but you can see how well that pulling tower pulls, and, you know, like I say, leaving it under tension is a real great help. You know, the framework ones with the pads work well, but they're a bit cumbersome. They have a tendency to want to roll off of shapes of panels and edges, and it's sometimes quite hard to find a decent support with those, with the bracing type pullers, but they do work. But yeah, it works wonders. having that pulling tower out of the way and just having it under tension, it does work really well. I'm really pleased with it. So yeah, sort of just, you can sort of leave your eyes on there and you know, move them out of the way, shut the door, check the gap. It's still in quite a bit. It was in a bit further up as well, so again, putting some more eyes in there, and yeah, just manipulating it a bit at a time, you know, get it to where I think it's near enough there, like I say, once just be a fraction lower, so then I can just make the lines, you know, look as perfect as possible with some filler. Yeah, the key with these towels is getting that suction good on the floor, and yeah, like I have, you know, invested some time and some money in trying to get that area on this side of my garage, trying to get that concrete right. And there is some areas it won't take, so I do have to move it around a little bit until I know it will suck down. But once it's sucked down, it works really well. So that's all the arch pulled out. You know, that you don't have to have all this expensive equipment, pulling towers and all that. There are other ways around it, you know. There's a lot, you know, there's cheaper options out there, you know. This, you know, the pulling equipment that I'm using now with a slide hammer, you can buy real cheap versions of this type of puller on Amazon and eBay. You know, if you're a DIY and you're not going to be using it day in, day out, cheaper versions are going to do the job, you know. You can get behind it, you know, strip panels out and get behind, poke stuff up, hammer and dolly stuff when you've got access. That, you know, there's lots of ways around it, you know. And if you can't get it out to where you need it to come out to, you know, ideally you want to keep filler as thin as possible. The thinner the better, really. But if you can't, then, you know, you can make stuff up with filler. So if you're doing stuff for yourself at home and you haven't got the equipment and you can't get everything out to a decent enough level, then you have got the option of making it up with filler. You know, there is lots of options around it. You know, there's people that will spend, you know, a long time and can metal finish. You know, I'm not to that standard, and I haven't got the time to try and get everything metal finish. Be lovely if I could, but, you know, filler's there for a reason, and there's nothing wrong with using it as long as it's used properly and not abused, you know. So yeah, on to the filler stage, using Rage Gold on this, and yeah, if you see there, I've got a sort of newer type of spreader. They're only cheap on eBay. It's really wide and it's quite flexible, and I'm sort of changing the way I apply filler a little bit. Instead of putting it in really thick on the first application, you know, as like a bulking skim, I'm more trying to just fill in the lows, you know, so try and minimize the amount of times I'm rubbing, really, and sort of build up in layers more than trying to whop a big load of filler in there in one go and try and get it in one skim. Ends up I find that you end up rubbing most of it out, you know. So yeah, sort of, you know, ideally you want to get your metal as close as possible, and then yeah, I'm finding my first skims now, I'm putting in sort of more or less scraping it in there than trying to bulk it up in the first skim. But yeah, those spreaders are just cheap plastic, like Perspex they are, I think they're made of, just cheap on eBay, you know. A variety of sizes. I just bought a few different ones, and yeah, they work really well. You know, like I say, putting your first skim in, really, you want it sort of you want to sort of put it in and scrape it out, so it's sort of, it's like almost like a bonding coat, the first coat. It will adhere better by sort of scraping it in and scraping it off, sort of getting the wet filler onto the panel, sort of helps it grip as well. So this first skim, I've started DAing a bit more filler now as well. I was always against it, to be honest with you, DA and filler. I'd be straight in with a block, but I just use the DA to sort of just rough it out and get the rough off. If you sort of move a DA quickly on filler and don't use any soft pads or interface pads or anything, keep it nice and flat. Make sure you've got a decent flat DA backing pad as well, a nice hard one on there, and just move it around like you would a block, you know, just to rough it off, just to get that, you know, that roughness off the first skim. So yeah, hit with an 80 grit DA. This Rage Gold is quite a hard filler to rub, which I don't mind hard fillers to rub. It gives you a bit more scope on shaping, I find. The finer fillers, the easier ones, the more lightweight fillers that are easier to rub, you have a tendency to rub too much out too quickly sometimes, and yeah, these might be a bit harder work to rub out, but I find they shape a little bit better sometimes, the harder fillers. This Rage Gold sort of in between. It spreads well, it bulks well, you know, it does fill a good depth, and it does shape well, but yeah, 80 grit really is, you need to be sanding it with initially. And then I finish my filler repairs in, depending on the size of it, between, it's either 180 grit or 240 grit. That's what I would finish my filler off in, depending on the filler and the type of, you know, the size of the repair. The trouble is, if you start working too fine, you can start losing your shape. So if I know my shape's there in it, you know, once I've done 180 grit, I'll leave it. So yeah, once I've got that filler to where I needed it in 180 grit, I sand around the repair with 180 grit. You know, rule of thumb really is, whatever sanding scratches you want to take out, you know, to go finer, it's 100 grit. You don't want to be, that's really the rule of thumb, is every scratch you want to refine as you work your way up is to jump up 100 grit, or thereabouts. You start going to, you know, jumping up too high, you're not going to get them scratches out. So I've gone around that with 180 grit, and now I'm just doing the preparation for all the paint work. That's normally, most of the time, that's what I do. I get the whole car prepped before I put the primer on there, and then you know, all I've got then is to start prepping the primer and the car's ready. So that door's being blended, so I'm using 800 grit on the DA sander on all the faces, 800 grit all the, you know, all the areas where I know it's just going to be blend areas, it'd be 800 grit in the blend areas. The rest of that door, because I know I'm base coating that whole door, I'm not priming that whole door, but I'm base coating it, I'm keying the rest of that up with 500 grit. Then I would go in any areas that I couldn't get with the DA. I'd use 1000 grit soft pad and grey scotch. Yeah, sometimes I don't use 1000 grit soft pads. I'll just do the 800 grit across the faces, and then grey scotch wet. I find wet, just Scotch Brite works better. It sort of cleans dust down and cleans the sanded paint. It cleans it out as well, using a bit of paste and a grey scotch. You get a nicer key and a bit of a better scratch, and it cleans the panel as well. And yeah, just make sure you don't leave it wet or any residue on there. Just make sure it's all cleaned off and dry it as you go, panel by panel. So now it's all in the booth, masked up, ready to prime. So it's Mipa 4+1. Done it in a really light grey, because that was the colour that was underneath this paint from the factory. I've smeared pour filler over all the repairs. I do that on all the repairs. Really aids with primer going over filler. It gets rid of all them little micro pinholes, and really helps. So I highly recommend putting pour filler over your repairs, especially on plastic. So yeah, like I say, I put 3.5 coats of primer on all my jobs. Pretty much that's the standard what I would do, 3.5 coats. I put a lightish coat on first, and then three good wet ones, and that seems to be plenty for this, you know, for this primer, for filling in 180 scratches. I have no sinkage. Sometimes, you know, more primer can cause you sinkage in the long run. with drying and all the rest of it, with it not drying through. You see I've had to mask up with the door open, so yeah, it's all a bit tight in there for priming, but like I say, it's only primer and I can work around it. So yeah, little bits to do in that shut where I've had to make that feature line up a little bit on that dog leg, and yeah, first coat sort of a lightish coat, and then 3 wet ones, like I said. Yeah, the next video will be the painting stage of this vehicle, but yeah, I'll show you in the next video what there's a couple of options where I've had to go into that shut with the repair. You could take that door off, but for me, taking the door off means I need more space to paint it. I would never get the car, both bumpers and the door on a stand in my booth. It's a struggle just with those 2 bumpers in there, as you can see. So yeah, in the next video I'll show the painting stage of this job, and I'll show you what I'll do with that shut. Like I say, there's a couple of options. You could take that panel off and paint it all in one go, but what I do, I don't do it every time, but on this one I've done a little smart repair first in that door shut, so that'll be in the next video. But yeah, coming to an end now. Thanks for watching, I really appreciate it. Yeah, just let me know in the comments, what you prefer watching. Do you prefer just watching the paint going down, or if you like seeing all of it? I'm just sticking to what I'm doing, to be honest with you. I like to have a bit of variety in my videos. Maybe I don't get the views on the compared to just spraying videos, but I think it's good to show every aspect. My channel's about showing you what we do here, what we go through, and all the different aspects. It is a repetitive type of job, and you are going to see things that are going to be the same. That's why I like to show the other side to it as well, the preparation. At the end of the day, my channel's more of a day in the life of what me and Reese do here, as a small little body shop, as a little father and son combo. And if I can show you the way that we do things here, and then people comment on how they do things, we can all learn together, which is a good thing. So anyway, thanks for watching. I really appreciate everyone watching. Have a good one and look after yourselves, and we'll see you again in the next one. Cheers.